And if you don't know, now you know, you know. And if you don't know, now you know, you know. And if you don't know, now you know, you know. And if you don't know, now you know, you know.
My name's Farro, I'm 23 years old, and this is my testimony. If you don't know, now you know.
This ain't just for planet Earth. Welcome to round 2, y'all. All the way from Group 1 land. So coming to a venue near you. In the end, you really did it on this one. Here we go. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the sound is fresh. Out with the old and with the new wrist. No plan B, so we're here in the flesh. Yup, call your neighbor up, cause you're rocking with the best.
I was born here in Riverside, and then we moved over to LA. Growing up, my childhood was pretty crazy. Both my parents were alcoholics, so if you could even imagine, you know, it was always pretty crazy. All I remember, you know, was a lot of partying, a lot of, you know, not really seeing them around anything. I remember me and Destiny, we're the only kids. Remember, and George weren't even born yet. And I remember, you know, it was so crazy. I remember one night, you know, my parents started fighting. My aunt lived, like, just down the street from us. I remember running, as a young girl, you know, running over there, and I remember my aunt was hiding us behind the couches, and she was hiding us so that, you know, the CPS wouldn't take us away. And I remember being a young girl, you know, just scared and crying, and, you know, I had my little baby sister next to me. And after, like, all the craziness, I remember my mom finally started going to church. And I remember it was Victory Outreach. And when she started going, I was like, you know, maybe God is real, because, you know, the homes never helped. The, you know, NA programs, nothing ever helped my mom. So when she started going to church, that's the only time in my life I can remember that she was actually sober, like ever. And I was like already like in 8th grade by then. So when she started going to church, she started asking me to come, and I started getting more plugged in the youth ministry. I remember my first youth leaders were Joe and Cynthia. Those were my first youth leaders, and I started helping them out a little bit. And that was like my first year, you know, 8th grade was my first year going to youth convention. That was my first year going to a winter retreat and really, you know, kind of experiencing what it was to go to church. And then I remember my 8th grade summer, and then I went to high school my freshman year, and when I started going to high school, I kind of got turned off from the things of God. I didn't want to serve God anymore. I started little by little, you know, I started smoking weed. I remember me and my friends, we would smoke weed out of an apple in our room. My mom would be in the other room, and me and my friends would get in my room, and we'd get all messed up. We were dumb. From that, you know, I tried coke for the first time. We tried shrooms, and then from there I started doing speed. I remember I think it was my senior year of high school, and I almost didn't graduate because of that, but I got really messed up on that drug for about a good year. And then also in that time I met a guy in high school. I met a guy my sophomore year in high school, and we had been together for a really long time, you know, and I thought he was the love of my life, that we were gonna get married and stuff. And I was a messed up young girl. I was lonely, I was messed up, and I just tried searching for, you know, through drugs or through guys or all these different things to make me happy, and nothing ever did. I moved up north to Northern California to Chico, and I moved there with my boyfriend. We were going to school full time, you know, we were working full time. While I was there, like, you know, our relationship was getting, you know, worse and worse. We were fighting a lot. It was all messed up. It was crazy. I was in here in Riverside, and I was down for the week visiting, and I flew back home on a Sunday night back to Chico. He picked me up from the airport, and the next day we got in a huge fight. And I remember I packed up all my stuff. I had everything there, and all I could fit was everything I had in 2 suitcases. So I left like my picture frames. I left everything I had up there. From there, you know, I was a mess. I was depressed. I was sad. I didn't know what to do with my life. I can honestly say that was probably the hardest time of my life. Like, I felt so depressed. I didn't want to eat. I wasn't eating anymore. I couldn't sleep anymore. All I did was lay in my bed and cry.
Yes, you are. You know it. Yes, you are. You know it. Yes, you are. Every one of y'all.
For me, what started me going to church, I remember we had a Bible study in my house, and that's the only way I went to church, because it was out in my house. I had to. But I remember after each Bible study, you know, I'd get in the middle of them, and all the adults and Pastor Chris and my mom, you know, they would lay hands on me and they would pray for me, and I would just be broken. I'd be crying, and from there, from the Bible study, you know, little by little, I started going to church a little bit. I remember I started going to Wednesday night youth service. I remember when I started going, we had it in the classroom. It was like a little classroom, like a little circle of us, and Pastor David and Melissa, that's when they were the youth leaders. June of '07, I remember going to church, and I remember one Sunday, telling God, I want to serve you, God. Like, I want to serve you. I want to give my life to you. I remember I got saved. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this full force. I'm gonna serve God, with everything I have to serve God. And that's what I did. I backed my youth leaders up. I went on crusades. I went to Hawaii for a crusade. I remember God put it in my heart to go to the training center. I ended up going to the training center. I went to the West Coast Training Center. I went there for 6 months, and I believe there is where God grabbed a hold of my life. I fell in love with God's word. I fell in love with praying. I fell in love with God there. I really, really, truly did, and that's where I was discipled. And I fell in love with the ministry. I fell in love with Victory Outreach and what we stood for, and our founding pastor. I fell in love with the vision of Victory Outreach. When I came back home, I just did whatever I could do to help out the church. I did whatever I could do to help out, our pastors and our youth leaders, Pastor David and Melissa. And I just served, and I did what I was taught to do in the training center. I just continue to fall in love with God, and I continue to give my everything to God.
There's nobody else like me. I'm so P-E-A-U-T.
I've been saved for 3 years now. I'm one of the youth leaders here, and I want to see this church grow. I want to back up my pastor. I want to back up my pastor's life. I want this youth ministry, to do great things for God. I want to see young people rise up. I want to see young girls rise up and take their place. And I want to see future gang leaders and future missionaries. And that's my heart. The youth ministry is my heart. And I know I'm here for a while. I don't know where I'm gonna be. Maybe 2 years from now. But I know God has me here, and the rest, is up to God.
And if you don't know, now you know. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you don't know, now you know. And if you don't know, now you know.